What does motherhood teach us about leadership?
What would be the best management job ever?
And
A mom. It's actually the most intense, insightful, complicated, exciting management job that there is. And yet, we don't get paid for it. We don't get rewarded for it. We use the word just around it.
welcome to Motherhood Advantage, the podcast exploring leadership intelligence developed through motherhood. For decades, we've heard about the motherhood penalty, but what about the motherhood advantage? In each episode, we talk with one extraordinary mother about how caregiving shapes the way they think, decide, and lead. Because motherhood is leadership. Hello. I'm Dr. Laura Marie Rivera, and this is Motherhood Advantage. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Heather A. Campbell from Massachusetts. She is a mom of two and the CEO of Ready, Set, Recover, and a big community member. Heather, will you tell us what that means?
Sure. When we moved here, we were living in New York City. And actually, I joke that we took refuge here. We came up for the weekend on March 13th, 2020, which was the weekend, and woke up and realized we're not going back. And the weekend turned into 2 weeks, turned into 2 months, turned into 6 years. Where we are, there are people who have had family here forever. I literally live in a Norman Rockwell painting. This is where he painted. Main Street, Stockbridge is one of his most famous paintings. One of my children scoops ice cream on Main Street in Stockbridge. But when we moved here, people would say, "Are you from here?" And unless you were born here and your parents were born here and your grandparents were born here, you are not from here. And I would say, I'm new but nice. I'm new, but I'm getting involved. I created the Housatonic-wide tag sale to bring people into the town of Housatonic on one day and walk around and meet your neighbors and maybe sell some stuff and maybe get rid of some stuff and get some stuff. I'm on a board for the People's Pantry, which is an incredible organization where we help our neighbors with food insecurity. They become our shoppers. We try to get local and beautiful produce for them. I like to have peripheral vision and see what needs to be done. Can I do it? And usually when I say yes to it, it's a lot of fun, even if it is also a lot of work.
I love the idea of that peripheral vision because I feel like there's so many things going on in life, in our paid work, of course, in our motherhood. And how do we see them all? How do we pick which ones or triage, if you will? For somebody that has never joined a board or anything like that, how did you go about getting involved? And again, with that idea of the periphery, how did you figure out which ones to pull forward at any given time?
Yeah. I go with what I like, what I think is important. For me, I firmly believe if everyone had their foundational needs met financially and a little bit more and felt seen, heard, and celebrated, the world is a completely different place.
Absolutely.
Completely different. Food insecurity is one of our foundational needs. If you are hungry, if you cannot literally feed yourself, it's very difficult to have the ability to rise to whatever occasion, to be a phenomenal parent, mother. So that was one where I saw the work that they were doing and I started volunteering. And in volunteering, I often am raising my hand saying, "Oh, I'm curious. What about if we did this? Looks like it might be helpful if that happened." I try to come at things with potential, playing, and they recognized my interest in doing that and quickly asked me to become on the board.
There you go. That's what happens
And
when you raise your hand, right?
correct. One of my kids is a horseback rider, and they had an event at the barn that she rides at, and they were trying to get people to help with communications and marketing, which I also have a background. I literally sat on my hands. I put my hands under my legs and sat there singing a song while they were making the plea. I'm like, "Don't do it. Don't do it."
Were you successful?
I was.
Okay.
It wasn't easy.
Well, and it's great to give someone else a chance to take that on.
Correct. Correct.
I'd like to start with the same question I'm asking all of our guests. What does mother mean to you?
So many things, actually. It's not, and here's the word, here's the line. You are caregiver, caring, and setting limits. One of the things, it depends also on where you are on the motherhood journey. Those first couple of years are so physical, are so primal. It is crazy. And then you get into much more of the mental. It's funny, actually, I can see my book above my shoulder
I have one too.
and above over the side of your shoulder as well. One of the things I talk about is my best parenting move, my best mom move, which is,
Hmm.
and then being quiet. My kids are at an age where they are working through things, and my job is now different. My job is to be the sounding board, to be the cheerleader, to help them lead and still guide, but to let them play a role in it. And honestly, also, it's the best thing I've done.
For sure.
Absolutely. To be a mom, to watch my children growing. And it is leadership.
Yes.
It is management.
Yes.
At various times, I've been primary caregiver, only working in the house versus getting a paycheck. And I remember someone saying to me, like, do you work?
Ooh.
And I said, do you mean, do I get a check from someone every other week? No, I do not. Do I work? All the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that said, I was working at ESPN when I had my first child, and I left soon after. And it was hard. It was incredibly difficult for me. And I actually paid myself out of our joint checking account. I gave myself a salary for quite a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
And were you a highly compensated employee?
No. Isn't that amazing? I lowballed myself. No one is negotiating with me. And I still lowballed.
Ugh, isn't that always the way? I think as women, and specifically as mothers, there is rarely a dollar amount placed next to our time and expertise. Everyone seems to understand that these tasks cost money when someone else does them, but when a mother does them, they're free, just part of the job. But wouldn't that be something if we named and valued the work that mothers are doing every day? That's one of the things that we're working on here at Intuitionship. We're looking at the strengths and skills that moms bring to the paid workplace and the specific roles that they perform, categorizing them the same way you would in a business setting so that it translates for the people that have not noticed or cared to think about it way.
Right. It's, again, thinking about the language that we use within all of this, too. I mean, that's early on. I have a phenomenal partner. My husband is an amazing person, really wonderful. But at one point, I think the kids were 7 and 9, somewhere in there, and I said something about being the primary caregiver. And he said, well, right. I mean, I'm the primary caregiver, too. We're both primary caregivers. And I said, no. Right. I said, no. I said, you're an amazing father. You are an attentive, incredible father. But no, I am the primary. And he said, well, no. And I said, name a doctor, name a teacher. Have you ever brushed their hair? When is their next annual physical due?
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is my job, and I do it really well, by the way. And then he kind of nodded, and then he very adorably said, well, can I be primary something? And I said, yes, you can be primary IT guy. And he said, okay, but could I be primary IT caregiver? And I said, yes, you do it with love and care. Absolutely. But, and it's a joke that I've told, but also think about the way we, again, from a getting things done standpoint. I want my coworker to be happy. I want my coworker to be in it. This is a job. He's my coworker. I was tempted to say, sure, like who cares? Sure, you can be primary too. But it was important to me actually in that moment to say, no, I'm sorry, you don't have that title. I have this title. You could have a different one.
Yes, that is so important. You are the one doing the work, and you have earned that title of primary caregiver.
Yes, yes. Yeah, primary.
Our partners can be partners, helpful, assistants, filling in as necessary, but is not the same thing as carrying that responsibility. And they seem to understand that in the paid workplace, but I wonder why so many other caregivers fail to recognize or relinquish that primary piece. Clearly, we need to have a lot more conversations about the mental load, what it is, and who is actually carrying it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, all of it, all of it. It's just real. It's watching, supporting, cajoling, nudging, paying attention. I think that was the thing that I did the most. Showing up. I joke about toothbrush time, the time where you're just kind of brushing teeth and bumping into each other, or it's the time in the car if you're commuting and carpooling. It's that downtime where you're still interacting and being available. Back to peripheral vision. Are you available in a way? Because I have two very, very different children. My oldest, we could take a 2.5 hour car ride, and it might take 2 hours before I get anything of substance. Nothing bad. Just the first 2 hours might just be calm, quiet. My second child, maybe 2 minutes of calm quiet. Very, very different ways that they are going to interact. But I need all of the different opportunities to welcome that time to interact. So yeah, so in terms of back to the job description and thinking about how many hours would you get paid, thinking about what are the roles that you are playing with them, what are the jobs that you are doing, all of them. And within it, the thing that I'm even noticing more and more is the how are you modeling? Because really, they're just watching everything. So, what am I modeling as a mom, as a person? What am I modeling so that they can then make their decision and their judgment on, I saw my mom do that. Do I think that was good, bad, beneficial? Is that what I want to do? They're watching everything.
It is so true. They are always there, always watching, always learning. And whether it's the things we meant to be teaching or not, they see it all. I still remember the first time I realized this. My first two children are only 20 months apart. Even compared to raising twins, that was a rough time. But when my second was getting to that potty training stage, my first said, "I'm so proud of you, Tolly." Just out of the blue, it is the sweetest thing. And I realized that sometimes we're doing things very right when that is what my kid thought to say to my other kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. My oldest recently called me and said, in case you're wondering, I am your child, in case you were going to go research. And I said, great. Good to know what happened. And they said, I've just applied for a scholarship. So number one, they're in college, and I've told them you need to apply for some scholarships. That would be helpful in life. So number one, they listened to me.
Great.
So they call and say, I'm applying for a scholarship and it needs a recommendation from a professor. So I went online to look for the professor's email address and I saw that they had office hours. So I went to the office hours because I know that it would be better to actually show up, be present, have a conversation with them than to send an email.
That is so great.
That's modeling. They've seen me do it. And for me, again, thinking about as a mom, as a manager, also what feeds you, that fed me. My kid not only listened, not only decided to follow the model, but then also they were kind enough to give me the kudos, to celebrate with me, to give me the like, hey mom, I know you showed me how to do this and letting you know I did it. I see the value. That was a wonderful, wonderful moment.
Oh, I love that. Not only have they learned by example the right way to get things done, but they were present enough to know where they learned that from and thoughtful enough to acknowledge that. I feel like we put in a lot of work for our kids and they won't really understand it until they have children of their own. At least I didn't really get it until I had my kids. I'm one of five children, so it's rather impressive and honestly rather unimaginable, all that my mother has done for us.
Yes, yes. I have a large family and very female. And a couple years ago, many years ago, I was out one night with my female cousins and a bunch of aunts and my mom, and we're all at a bar. It's just great, great, great. And one of my cousins says to one of my aunts, "So tonight you're getting to see me as a person." And my aunt says, "Yeah, and you're getting to see me not as a mom or Auntie Susie, as a person as well." And then they both turned and looked at me and said, "And then there's Heather." Yeah, pretty much what you see is what you get. She stays pretty even. So I think I'm consistent. Who I am as a mom, who I am as a leader, a manager, who I am as a worker. I like to, number one, understand the lay of the land. That was, by the way, really hard within motherhood. Getting the lay of there's no, I can't believe they let you leave hospitals with babies. It's nuts. So it's number one, getting the lay of the land. Like, what's the goal? What information can I gather? And then thinking about, how do I invite people into play? So while you're supposed to be the person in charge, it's actually funny. I think back to when my kids were little, going to see the doctor and telling the doctor, we've been doing this thing, tasting bites, and it's not going well. My oldest just is refusing to do these tasting bites. And he said, "Why are you doing tasting bites?" And I said, "Well, that seems like a good rule to have, that they should try stuff." And he said, "Have I told you your child's not healthy?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Does your kid eat lots of different stuff?" And I said, "Well, yeah." Like, "How's that rule going for you? You you happy with that? Like, is that making dinner and lunch joyous?" And I said, "No." And so after this interchange, I basically came up with the fact that rules, like, I should only make rules that I really, really, really am not going to want to break, that actually help me. So I think about that again with motherhood and with management. It's all about setting people up to succeed. How are we going to do that?
Absolutely. Whether it's our teams or our kids, we have to set people up and support them for success.
Correct.
So let me ask you, when we look at motherhood and leadership, can you think of a time where you've really experienced some big growth, either in your mom work or in your paid work, and how that worked and how it came about, and maybe what skills or lessons you learned through that?
Sure. In my paid work, the thing that jumps to my mind actually was, I had a situation where I was supposed to be presenting to the CEO and the COO on the first big project that I worked on for Alchemy. So Alchemy, Synergy, they're all the same kind of things. How do you invite people to play in Megaphone using all of the assets of the company? And one of the big ta-da slides was supposed to be how we received 66 million impressions throughout the country using the radio stations of this company. And so that was kind of the ta-da moment.
Dang.
And I thought, yes, very exciting. And I thought, maybe we even got more. I should actually run the numbers and see if we maybe got more. And in fact, we had gotten 22 million. So a third of what we thought we were supposed to get. I had uncovered a huge issue within the company. For years, management had been telling people, run these spots, use the inventory to promote these specific things. And in fact, it was not happening.
Wow.
And so I had this moment of, I don't want to tell people this. And I took the moment as well, I've got to. I mean, I can't lie. I have to tell it. This is actually an opportunity. This is an incredible opportunity. This is important information to know. And so I presented the first slide with the 66 million number. And then as I was presenting, it automated with a big X over it. And then I said it was 22. But the great news is, now we know that this is a problem. And I'm going to figure it out. So I actually called it the inventory extravaganza. And I went through the company, and saying the word extravaganza let me invite people to play, and it made them laugh.
Do you like the word?
It's such a great word. But yeah, when things go wrong, we had a phenomenal child psychologist at the elementary school that my kids went to. And he talked about how you want your children to make mistakes. You want them to make mistakes early on with you around so they can then talk to you about it, and so that those mistakes don't kill them. You want your kids to make mistakes. So that I think both as a manager, I think I allowed mistakes to happen. I once found a double bill that we had been paying for a very long time. And I had an incredible manager, and I got to come in and say, guess what? I just found all of this money because we've been mistakenly double paying.
Yikes.
Rather being scared, my manager said, oh my gosh, okay, so how are you going to make sure this never happens again? Oh, I said, yep, this is what we're doing. But look, I just found all of this money.
Yes, sometimes mistakes are happy accidents, aren't they?
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the very real overlaps between the two places and how they go
Yes.
together? And
Yes.
I'm wondering, I know I had initially reached out to you. I think I was still in the process of doing the dissertation, and you were
Yes.
just so welcoming and friendly and supportive and listening. And it kind of goes along with your whole theory about raising your hand and helping people out. I was really excited to hear about your book. And it was really fun and exciting to read because I now knew this author and it was cool to see your words on the page. But there were parts of it that really spoke to me. And one of the ones that I keep coming back to is you have a section in there where you talk about the word just
Yes.
this, just that. And we already spoke a little bit about the power of words, but will you explain it a little bit more clearly to the people who haven't read your book yet?
Sure. Yes. Just is a horrible word.
Yes.
When I wrote the book, actually, I went through and looked at how often I hadn't, like, I wrote this chapter about it being a horrible word, and still I had included it in other areas and had to get rid of it.
Good.
Yeah. Yes. Again, once you become aware of something, you can deal with it. You can look at it.
I did know this, except when I was reading it, it was like for the first time because I've gotten in the habit of taking it out of my emails saying, "Oh, I just this or whatever."
Yep.
And so I'm
Yep.
I'm fairly good about that. But as you were saying it, and I was thinking about all the times, and since then, I'm hearing it even in these interviews too. And tell us why we have to
Yes.
stop that.
Yes. It belittles yourself. It belittles yourself or the person who is using it. It belittles the energy of whatever it is that you're doing it. When someone says to me, could you just blah, blah, blah? I know they think it's supposed to be easy, and most likely they have no idea what it actually is. Could you just, go ahead. Could you just go do this? You have already told me that you think it's simple because I'm going to just do it, and most likely you're not going to give it much value. And why would I want to do something that doesn't have much value? Why it is. So there's that side, and then but the belittlement side is so real. When I've had some really fun corporate jobs, some big corporate jobs. And when I left ESPN and people would say, "What are you doing?" I would say every time, "Oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom now." Just just and and it's funny because I write about this in the book. There's some moments when I did it where it was so obvious. Like I could have just put, the L on my forehead and said, "I'm a loser." For the moms, when we use it that way, we're basically internalizing all of these things that are outside indicators of value. I'm not making money, so I'm a just. I'm not included in big conversations. You're actually included in huge conversations. Tell me what's more important than helping create life.
Thank you.
Like, name something that is more important than that. There's nothing. So, yes, the word just is one that I rally against. And just like you, though, you can use it that way. Similar to you. So, one of my jokes is, so this is my copy of my book. If you're listening and not watching, I'm now showing the copy of my book. My book is well made. My book is becoming somewhat tattered because I have to use it, because I go back to it. I literally wrote the book about this. But I too have to remind myself. I too have to listen to what am I saying about myself. I too go through my emails and did I use the word just to belittle myself, to belittle my actions? I will say it kind of cracks me up though. Every once in a while, I will use it and say to someone, I just want you to, and it's all I could do, not put in parentheses, I'm trying to make you think that this is a small thing. It's actually not, but I'm trying to cajole you and nudge you into doing it. And if I use the word just, maybe you will
We
just,
know, and now they're going to
yes,
know.
yes, yes.
So we have just started recording these podcast interviews, and it has already come up in more than one discussion. And it's something that we do. And you were talking about like the internalizing of it, but it's also that external validation when we accidentally, I mean, we do. We come to think of that because it has been so pushed to the side and ignored and undervalued. And I know I'm guilty of thinking of it and even sometimes saying it. And yes, just a mom hurts me. And people say it, and they're not trying to be rude to me or anyone else, but wow. And like you're saying, creating life and then the day to day protecting and nurturing, sustaining life that we do is completely ignored and expected. And that's kind of where we are. That's why it's really important to me to look at some of those skills that we use and really pointing out that they indeed are the same skills that we need and use in the paid workplace. And when someone's experience has been managing 2 and 4-year-olds as opposed to 30 and 40-year-olds, is it so different or are those skills the same? And
Mhm.
that's what we're trying to look at, if they relate and to what extent.
Well, it was funny. I had been at ESPN for a very long time. For a long time, I had the best job in the world, the most incredible job. They then changed my job without asking me. And while it was also a fabulous job, if you were in marketing and advertising, it wasn't a job I wanted to do. No one had asked me if this was a job I wanted to do.
Please tell me that was not while you were on maternity leave.
It was 2 months before maternity leave.
Okay.
There's some issues. I'm going to just put those
Okay.
things over to the side, but I decided to leave. So I had my child, had maternity. I came back thinking I'm going to do this, and the job had changed. I had changed. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to take this summer and think about why I loved my job so much before and why this current job isn't what I want. And one of the biggest aspects of the job that I had loved was I really was allowed to manage people. I had an incredible team that I managed. I was given freedom to manage as I saw, and I was recognized for managing. And then I thought, let's see, what would be the best management job ever?
And
Mom. It's actually the most intense, insightful, complicated, exciting management job that there is.
yes.
And yet, we don't get paid for it.
Right.
We don't get rewarded for it. We use the word just around it.
Mhm.
I did, again, back to not only paying myself a paycheck, maybe year 6 or 7, I invited 2 of my good friends who were also stay-at-home moms who had also been out in workforces before, out to lunch one day around the holidays for our holiday lunch, and I handed each of us a check for $1,000,000
Excellent.
as our bonus.
As you deserve.
Yes, yes. You need to do things within motherhood, within management. You need to do things to celebrate the energy that you are putting out there. While hopefully your children feed you, like mine have done with the story of my kid calling me and saying, look, mom, I've heard you. You need other supports. You need colleagues. You need other support. I do remember when I did decide to stay home saying to my, again, fabulous partner, we should probably lay down some norms in terms of you being my partner now that I am the person staying home and you are not. When you come home and ask how my day was, I want that to be joyous and you being curious versus me feeling managed by you
Mhm.
on this. I will also need time away and I will need to just call it. There was a period of time where I left. He went into the office at 9 and from 7:30 until 8:45, I went to the coffee shop. I specifically didn't own a coffee maker. I wanted the reason to have to leave the house to start my day in a different way.
That's amazing. And I love that you had the presence of mind to kind of establish those norms. And it would be wonderful, I think, if we all thought about that and were able to do it in advance. That's really cool. No, I love the way you think about all of this.
Yep. Yep.
I was recently chaperoning the kids at the robotics competition, and the coach and I took the kids outside for some exercise and fresh air during the break. She and I were sitting on the side, and she asked me about my research. And we talked about it, and she instantly identified with so much of it. She's a pediatrician, by the way. And by the end, I was reminding her that even though we were just sitting there, the kids didn't really need us at that point, but we were still working in definitely that supervisory capacity. And also, it was in our exchange of conversation, which was actually research and discussion of childhood development, and it was networking. And it was all kinds of things that may have looked like two ladies just sitting there, but what would people have thought if it were two men in suits sitting at a conference table? It was the same work, but different perceptions.
Yep.
It
Okay.
was it was a whole
We're
thing.
getting work done
Yeah.
all the time.
Yes.
My kids, we were in New York City for their elementary school, and the PTA in that school was run by women. There were a couple of dads.
Right.
It was run by women.
Yes.
It was an organization that raised between 800,000 and $1 million and spent it every year using volunteer
Right.
resources.
Right.
It's mind-blowing. The conversation that's just happening. Oh, aren't we cute sitting and having that
Right.
conversation on, oh, I wonder what they're talking about. Maybe they're gonna. We are making it happen, but it isn't seen. It isn't celebrated. And again, back to when I gave those other women the check. It felt silly, and I wasn't kidding. We need to celebrate. We need to recognize. Stories should be written about these PTAs across the country that are really subsidizing public school education. It's actually a problem, in my opinion. Huge problem. Yep.
It's exactly right. People talk about, oh, these PTAs and they raise so much money. Why don't they do it for all the schools? And as if these magic women are sitting around just
Right.
growing money. And
Right.
they understand when it's development and fundraising for an office or organization outside of the school. But when it's just the moms doing it for the PTA, it's all this free labor that
Yes.
people feel
Yes.
entitled to. It's
Yes.
amazing,
Yes.
maddening.
I agree.
We could go forever, but I would rather hear something cool about your kids. You've got two kids and nothing too personal, but just something special or specific. Could be a trait or a time or something.
I have joked often with my children saying that I knew I would love my kids. I didn't know how much I would like them. And they say, "Oh, mom, everybody feels that way." I'm like, "No, actually, they don't." So number one, I like my kids. And I'm thankful that for the most part, while I do annoy and embarrass them, last year, I think it was last summer, again, I've got a sophomore in college now and a senior in high school. So they've got their own lives in a lot of ways. And we found we had a week in the summer where no one was working. And I said, what would you guys like to do? And both of them said, oh, could we go camping at a national park? So my then 18 and 16-year-old have free time in the summer and they want to go be in a tent with their parents.
Yeah.
Winner. That to me was, again, just like, sure, sure, yes, we could. Excuse me, I have to go cry over here in the moment, but I'm not gonna let you see it. My kids are cool and interesting. And I'm fascinated by what they're interested in. My oldest has changed their major 4 times already. I mean, I've got lots of soapboxes. One of my soapboxes is, why do we let college freshmen and sophomores pick a major? Like, why? Why don't we tell them, go get your mind exploded?
Sure.
Go take a class where you're like, I love this, or oh my gosh, this scares me. So I love that they are inquisitive people, both of them. My younger came to me, I think, a week into school and said something about for my internship. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And they said, my internship. And I said, what internship? And through the school, they're taking an internship in physical therapy. And I had no idea. My kid just had an interest, looked into it at the school, made it happen. I love that. I'm fascinated by them, and I love seeing how they're exploring things and what they're thinking of doing. But yeah, like they're they are cool people. I would like to be their friend.
Ah, that is so cool. I love hearing about the little and not so little people that help make us who we are. And as we switch gears back to the paid work side, can you tell me a little bit more about what you do at Ready, Set, Recover? What is that?
So Ready, Set, Recover helps people get ready for and recover from surgery by looking at the emotional, behavioral, and logistic side.
Okay,
The human side. There's this incredible tool that people don't use in surgery. It's the patient. The actions that they take, the decisions that they make before and after surgery are 100% going to affect outcomes.
sure.
We help them look at it from a perspective of, what can I be doing? I created it because I needed it. I was having surgery. And then my surgeon afterwards said, I wish all of my patients could be like you. So I joke, incredibly naively, decided to make a company.
You raised your hand, didn't you, Heather?
I did. It's like, can you see the continuity in
I
all
see
of
it.
this?
I see it.
So yes, so I am thankful for my company. We are doing pilots, we are doing partnerships to show the efficacy. The unfortunate reality is surgeries are not going away. Surgeries, they're actually only going to be more and more with the silver tsunami. It is huge. So within that reality, my hope is, if and when you or someone you love hear the words you need surgery, that you hear 2 things. Number 1, the surgeon says, I'm really good at this, which
Yes, please.
they
Well,
say. And you want them to be. Like, you want a surgeon who has hubris. That is a vocation where hubris is good. But number 2, I hope they say, we have a program, Ready, Set, Recover, that you are going to participate because you are an important part of this as well. That's the side I'm working on. In terms of being a CEO, a founder, and a mom, a while ago, I was writing a piece about being a CEO, being a founder, and I talked about how you need to know your financial runway. You also need to know your emotional runway. So that is something, and again, I'm a female, so I only know my experience. I'm a mom, I know my mom experience. I am very aware of my emotional runway. And this actually happened, luckily, even before kids. I remember interviewing for my job at ESPN, and they said, what's your ideal job? And as I described it at one point, I said, I know I'm supposed to tell you I will be here for you 24/7. I won't. I I won't. I won't let things drop. I will take responsibility, but if you want me to be here with a light in my eye and energy, I have to go do yoga and do pottery and see friends. So that is something I have held on to as a founder. I pay attention to giving myself the space as a mom, and also recognizing when I've made a decision. When I was still at ESPN and my oldest was just a baby, I remember missing tucking in for the first time ever. And I wrote my child a letter about how I missed bedtime and I didn't like that. But here's why. I was at this amazing event for women in sports. And tonight I got to hear Billie Jean King talk about how incredible I needed to be fed. as a person tonight, as a woman tonight, so that I could come and be the best mom that I could be, but I'm still sorry I missed Tuck-in. So yeah, it's that emotional runway that's so important.
It really is. Thank you so much for spending the morning with us. And are there any other thoughts or ideas that maybe we didn't get to that you had wanted to mention or that
So
came about
yes,
as we talk? Please.
yes, yes. So, you've been so kind about my book. I have been
Do love
holding,
it.
thank you. I have been holding You Are Amazing parties all over the country rather than having a book launch event because my book is, they're my stories, but I want you to see your stories. I want you to take the word just and look at it again and think
I
about it
see my
yourself.
stories in that book. I love it.
Yes, that's the point. So I've actually been traveling all over the country having these events.
Are you coming to Seattle, Heather?
So it's funny, I have not been to Seattle yet. I was in Portland. I did do one in Portland.
I saw that after you left. It's only
I
3
know.
hours away, and I
I
didn't even
know.
know you were here.
I know. But I've been enjoying that and I want to do more.
Okay.
Again, so I invite people to connect. You
Okay,
can go
so
to Heather
I'm
A.
gonna raise
Campbell.
my hand, and I definitely want you to come here. And
Great.
you were just about to say, anybody else that would like to chat and have an amazing party should do what now?
Yes. They can contact me. They can go to my website, Heather A. Campbell, like the soup, no relation.com. And I want to hear from people. I'm doing one in Wisconsin next week, in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. I might be doing one in Los Angeles. It's so important to me that people take that breath, recognize achieving good within all of this. Again, the things that you and I have been talking about, it's not about my kids got into Princeton. It's not about my title was XYZ. I joke about getting the $1 million because it's fun. The big things are good. Like that's it. It's amazing to achieve good, to like your kids. That's incredible. That is so lucky. So I've been having these events and I want to do more of them. And again, I also, like you, I hope people read my book and enjoy it. I'd love to hear from people in terms of what resonates with them.
Quick logistical question. I like to host events, and it's something I enjoy doing. But for somebody that hasn't done it before, what does it involve? What do we need to do?
So there are different ways to do it. I can do them online because traveling is a reality.
Right.
I do them online as well. So book clubs have been doing it where they get my book, and actually a lot of them are reaching out to me and so that I can sign the book, and then I send it in bulk to them, and then we get online and we have a conversation and I tell some of the stories and talk a little bit, but really it's about people getting to ask questions and to think about how this resonates with them. If it's in person, I have people just reach out. The one in Portland, I had not thought of doing it. I had mentioned to someone that I was going to Eugene. That's where my child goes to school. And they said, so are you coming through Portland? And I said, I am. They said, we should talk about your book. And from that, I thought, do I have other people? And I contacted I like to make these low barrier to entry. So in my ideal world, we go to a bar or restaurant that's got a separate room. They give us the room because we're going to be bringing in people for a wonderful night. People mingle at cash bars usually. I talk a little bit. People buy the book, don't buy the book, sign, have conversations. And it's been fascinating watching people really connect with each other and most importantly, connect with themselves.
Love that. And it sounds like a pretty low barrier to entry. And
Yes. Yes.
anyone can do it. Just reach out.
Yeah. Yep.
I
Absolutely.
love it. Thank you so much, Heather A. Campbell, author of Good is Amazing and CEO of Ready, Set, Recover. I really appreciate you spending time with us today here on Motherhood Advantage.
Thank you so much. I've so enjoyed the conversation. And again, it is such an important conversation. So, so, so important. So thank you for the work that you are doing.
Thank you so much. Bye, Heather.
Bye.
Motherhood Advantage is based on the idea that if mothers are trusted to nurture, protect, and shape the next generation, their expertise should be recognized everywhere leadership matters. These episodes build on the work of Intuitionship, a groundbreaking research study with nearly 1,000 mothers, and now a nonprofit continuing to explore that intersection of motherhood and leadership. If you'd like to learn more, make a donation, or recommend a remarkable mother, please visit us at motherhoodadvantage.com. This podcast is hosted by Dr. Laura Marie Rivera and edited by Liz Aderholt, and is dedicated to all of the mothers who keep the world running, because motherhood may just be the most powerful leadership training ground in the world.